Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night, Gamrot versus Salkilld. Let's just jump right into it. Let's cut the bullshit. Let's just get right into the fights here. First fight on the card, Miles Johns versus Jesse Rosas. I think this should be a competitive fight. Miles Johns tends to sort of, how do I put this, fight to the level of his competition, I guess you would say, where he's never really blowing them out of the water, but he's never really like getting dominated either. You know, he's a relatively high level fighter, and I just don't think that Jesse Rosas, either way, I don't think he's really fought any high level competition, you know, at least not anybody close to Miles Johns, where, you know, Miles Johns has lost his last 3 fights, but that's against, you know, solid UFC level competition. Whereas Rosas, yes, you know, he's won his last couple fights, and I believe they're on LFA, which LFA is not a bad organization, but it's just not that UFC level. And, you know, I feel like this is going to be kind of the crafty unk, given the debuting UFC fighter, you know, a bit of a test, a bit of a challenge. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be a domination, but I think I got to go with Miles Johns on this. I wouldn't bet on it. I really would not bet on it. I mean, the odds are pretty coin flip, and I think it really could go either way, if I'm being honest with you. I don't really love that Miles Johns is like the minus 150 favorite, but we're going to go ahead and pick him. Like I said, I wouldn't bet on him, but my final verdict for this fight, we're going to go with Miles Johns by decision. And I just think that's mainly due to his experience and him having fought higher level competition. But hey, moving on to the next fight, Manuel Sosa versus Richie Miranda. I think this is going to be a really competitive matchup. Both fighters have fought decent level of competition. Richie Miranda does have that 4-inch reach advantage, which I could see coming into play here. But I think I'm going to go with Manuel Sosa. And I really just think that comes down to the boxing skills that he has, where Richie isn't bad by any means, but I just don't think he's on the same level of Manuel Sosa. And also, you know, fact of the matter is, and it's the same thing as what I was talking about with Miles Johns and Jesse Rosas, Manuel Sosa has at least fought in the UFC, where we're having Richie Miranda, they're making their debut, and I just do not trust these debuting fighters unless they're like a crazy prospect or you see them on the Contender Series and they're a really good fighter. I really can't trust them, if I'm being completely honest with you. Because of that, I'm going to be going ahead and picking Manuel Sosa. I think he's going to get it done by decision. I think this will be relatively back and forth. I don't think it's going to be like a domination, so to speak. But I think Manuel Sosa is going to get it done by decision. He's going to apply the pressure. He's going to be closing the distance, closing that 4-inch reach gap that Richie Miranda has. He's going to box him up. He's going to get in there, and he's going to get it done by a decision. Next fight on the card, Juliana Miller versus Ravina Oliveira. Wow, I had a hard time with that name, apparently. I think this fight is very simple. I just right out the gate, I'm just going to say I think Juliana Miller gets it done by decision. Oliveira has been finished in her last 3 fights, or she's lost her last 3 fights, and 2 of them have been by finish. And she really hasn't shown, you know, very high-level skill in the UFC. Like, obviously, you have to be a skillful fighter to even get in the UFC in the first place, but I just don't think that she is on the same level as Juliana Miller. I mean, that's just my opinion based on what I've seen in the tape. I mean, granted, I'm not really, I can't say I'm doing crazy tape study for this fight specifically, but even if you just go ahead and look at their records, I mean, Miller has won against solid competition, and even in her last fight, she was able to go the distance with Carly Judice, who's honestly a pretty solid women's MMA prospect, right? Carly Judice was able to finish her last 2 opponents prior to that and couldn't finish Juliana Miller. And I know, you know, MMA math, it's really hard to just, like, assume off of that, oh, yeah, well, she's just going to win because of that. But I think it's going to come down to the durability and the experience factor here. I think Juliana Miller is going to be able to mix things up, and she's going to be able to apply pressure on Ravina Oliveira, and I think she's going to get it done by decision. I mean, I'm not too invested in this fight, but that's really how I see it going. yeah, not a crazy breakdown for that one, if I'm being honest with you guys. Moving on to the next fight, Louis Sutherland versus Jose Montana. Now, I know what I've said already probably twice in this video from the other fights, that I don't pick debuting fighters. But I just can't pick Louis Sutherland. I mean, let's be honest. He is just a blob. He's not that same guy that he was on the regional scene when he was, supposedly on roids and he was looking jacked. This guy is a fucking blob. And his only win in the UFC is Tai Tuivasa. I mean, that just says nothing about you, right? He has no athleticism. And from what I've seen, Jose Montana is just better everywhere. Honestly, I'm shocked that he is the underdog here in this fight. Because the only way I could see Louis Sutherland winning if he blobs Montana on the ground. But really, I don't even think it's going to get to the ground. I don't even think that's going to happen. And I think it's because Jose Montana is going to put away Louis Sutherland early and bad. I think Jose Montana, using his boxing, using his, from what I've seen, pretty high-level striking, I think he's going to get this one done by round 1 knockout. I think this is going to be a pretty quick fight. I think Louis Sutherland kind of is going to get rocked. I think he's going to get put away. I don't think he's going to be able to blob this guy. And, if your only win is Tai Tuivasa and you've lost, I think, your 2 other fights in the UFC, like, what does that say about you, man? Like, he's just not that guy that he was on the regional scene. The competition's higher. These are actual athletes, where Louis Sutherland, he's just a blob, nothing else to it, and I don't think that's going to come into play here in this fight. So, like I said, I'm taking Jose Montana in his debut to get the round 1 knockout. Next fight on the card, DR Nergozai. Holy fuck, some of these names are just ridiculous. Like last week's card, that shit had me at a fucking chokehold. DR Nergozai, there we go, versus Bruno Lopez. Honestly, in this fight, I'm surprised that the odds aren't heavier, in favor for the favorite in this fight. I think Nergozai, using his volume and his speed, I really could see him putting away Lopez like anytime he wants. Because Bruno Lopez, right, as we've seen in the past, this guy has no chin. And, I think how this is going to go is I think the first round is going to be, relatively back and forth. But I think Nergozai, using his volume, using his pressure, is going to be able to win that round pretty comfortably. And then I think he's going to put away Bruno Lopez in round 2. My official pick is DR Nergozai by round 2 knockout. Next fight on the card. Very excited for this fight. I love this guy. Steven Asplund versus Gamrot Pat. This is just a super, super easy fight to predict, at least in my opinion, right? I might be wrong. I might be eating my own words later. I hope not. But you got to go with Asplund. And at the end of the day, he just gets it done because of his output and his speed, and there's nothing else to it. His boxing and the way he can be this almost like lighter man despite being such a heavy individual. The boxing and the speed is just on a different level compared to Gamrot Pat. And Pat is just not, I don't think he's UFC level, truthfully. I think he gets absolutely smoked by Asplund. I think how this is going to go is it's going to be building over the fight. Steven Asplund, he doesn't hit the hardest, so I don't think he's getting a round 1 knockout. I'm going to pick him by round 2 knockout. I think just all the pressure and all the boxing, all the shots are going to add up, and it's just going to cause Gamrot Pat to just crumble, honestly. My final verdict, my final pick for this fight is Steven Asplund by round 2 knockout. Next fight on the card, Ty Miller versus Billy Goff. Another, pretty heavy favorite on the card in Ty Miller. And I do think he gets it done. But I think while it lasts, it's going to be a scrap. It's going to be pretty competitive. Billy Goff, in theory, could get the upset, right? He's quite durable. And Ty Miller is just boxing, right? But Billy Goff, yes, he can box, but he's also throwing in those leg kicks, and he could possibly, mix things up and be a little more well-rounded on the feet. But I'm going to trust in the odds. I'm going to trust at what most people are saying and thinking, and I'm going to go with Ty Miller. I think that it's hard to say, really. I think it's going to be another second-round knockout, if I'm being honest with you. I kind of feel a bit of a trend going here with some of these where we're seeing multiple second-round knockouts. Like, I think it's like the second or third one. But I really think at the end of the day, it just comes down to, Goff has solid durability, right? And Ty Miller, he's good on the feet. He's got decent power. So I do see him putting away Billy Goff, but I don't see it in the first round, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. I really don't see it happening in the first round. I think this is going to be pretty back and forth in the first round, and then in the second round, it's going to open up. Ty Miller's going to rock him. He's going to drop him, and he's going to get a round 2 ground and pound TKO. Final verdict, Ty Miller by round 2 knockout. Next fight on the card, Amanda Lemos versus Alexa Thainara. I am unbelievably confident in this fight, and it seems like a lot of people are as well. And so I'm surprised the odds aren't more inflated. You got to go with Alexa Thainara here. She just has the advantage everywhere. Lemos is old, and you could say, oh, but the power's dropping off. This lady is fucking old now, especially for the women's MMA division where they're so small and they rely on being fast. She's not as fast as she once was. She's not as powerful as she once was. And she's had issues with the takedowns in the past, right? And Alexa Thainara is a fucking beast. She is going to dominate Amanda Lemos in the wrestling. I think she's going to be... I could see her having, a similar performance to what we've seen on UFC, I think it was 329, where I think it was Juliana Robertson was just absolutely just fucking suplexing her opponent and just destroying her. Alexa Thainara is just going to go out there and absolutely dominate Amanda Lemos. I think the sooner you can bet on Alexa Thainara, the better. Throw her in a parlay, add a little fluff into there. I think she's a minus 250 right now. I could see those odds going up to like minus 400 because I think once people start seeing this, it's pretty early in the week, but I think once people start seeing these odds and start making bets, I really think that Alexa Thainara should be and will be a heavier favorite. Like I said, I think she's going to float up to like at least a minus 300. I'm thinking minus 400 because I think no matter what, she gets this fight done. I'm going to take, for my final verdict, Alexa Thainara by decision. Next fight on the card, Yadier Delval versus Darren Elkins. Should be an easy night for Delval. Darren Elkins is over 40. I don't think his pace and pressure is nearly as effective as it once was, at a certain point in his career. In theory, he could fraud check Delval. Like, he's not that high level, as we've seen in his past fights. I would just avoid this fight betting-wise, like, no matter what. I just don't think it's worthwhile at all for the odds. I think they have Delval at like a minus 400 or something just absolutely ridiculous. Avoid this fight. It's not worth it. But picks-wise, right, I'm going to go with Yadier Delval by round 1 knockout. If he doesn't get this, if this doesn't happen, this sport is fake. Nothing fucking makes sense. Some shit is always fucking rigged. I don't understand how this would not be a round 1 knockout. He's fighting a 40-year-old. He's a striker. He should be able to get this one done. Give me Yadier Delval by round 1 knockout. We have the co-main event, Diego Ferreira versus Billy Quarantillo. I think the odds on this fight are just wrong. And I'm going to be hammering the underdog this week because I think it's great value. You have Billy Quarantillo moving up to lightweight after taking the last year and a half off. He's been able to recover his chin. He's been able to bulk up in a healthy way. Yes, he's coming off a few losses, which I think is why he is the underdog. But Diego Ferreira, he's old. Plain and simple to it, right? He's pushing 40 years old, if not being 40 years old, right? Billy Q is a younger man. He's going to be able to use his pressure. He's going to be able to use his takedowns to get this done. We've seen Diego Ferreira get dominated, or not dominated, but controlled by, I think it was Grant Dawson for like 7 or 8 minutes of their fight, right? And I know not every fight is the same, but if you show that weakness there, he's susceptible to it. And at his age, he's not going to learn. I don't think you're going to learn from that and get significantly better at that, right? And also, he's coming off a knockout loss where, yes, he's had a year to recover now, but at that age, you're not getting your chin back. Like, you're only going to deteriorate with time. Where Billy Quarantillo is the younger man. He doesn't have as much experience, but he's coming up from a lower weight class, coming up to heavyweight. I really like that. I think that he's given the time to healthily bulk up that extra 10 pounds He's been off for, I want to say, like 18 months, if not more. And it's not that I'm crazy high on Billy Q. It's just that I feel like he has the advantage everywhere in this fight. I think on the feet, they're going to be pretty equal striking, if not Billy Quarantillo having the advantage. Wrestling, obviously, Billy Q is going to have the advantage there. That's his bread and butter. And I think he really just wins this fight everywhere. I really would have expected Quarantillo to be a favorite in this fight. I love to see him as an underdog, and I think you got to take that. Like that, if I could hammer any fucking bets this week, it's going to be the main event, the co-main event, and Alexa Thainara, right? I mean, like, sprinkle Steven Aspel in there because that's a fucking lock right there, right? But yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to finish. I don't think Billy Q is going to finish Diego Ferreira. Don't get me wrong, Diego Ferreira's tough. He's tough. Right? And he's not the one to give up. But I just think the pressure and the pace that Billy Quarantillo is going to be able to put on him, I just think there's no way that Diego Ferreira comes out of this fight with the win. Final verdict, give me Billy Quarantillo by decision. And finally, moving on to the main event of the card. Very excited for this matchup. We have Mateusz Gamrot versus Quillan Salkilld. Honestly, really competitive matchup. I love that this is the fight that Quillan Salkilld called out. He was able to get it. He's testing himself. I think it's a very winnable matchup for him, but I don't think it's an easy matchup either. I think this really sets him up well, where a couple more wins, and you really could see him in the lightweight title picture, right? You know, personally for me, I don't think Gamrot has the skill set to win this fight. Yes, Gamrot is a great wrestler, but I really don't think he poses a major threat on the feet or the ground. Like, the only way I could see Gamrot winning this fight is if he really smudges Salkilld. You know, he smudges him in the clinch. He uses his takedowns. He keeps him down. Little pitter-patter shots, right? But I don't see him doing that because Quillan Salkilld is very well-rounded. He's great on the ground. I think he's going to be able to threaten submissions and get back up, or just get up in general and keep himself safe from a submission. I don't think Gamrot really has the submission threat in this fight, right? I think that honestly favors Salkilld. I don't think Salkild's going to be shooting for any takedowns by any means, but I guess what I'm trying to say is he'd be comfortable on the ground. He's not going to be a fish out of water. He's not going to be lost down there. He's going to know what to do to get back up. He's going to know the positions he needs to be in. And I really just think that Salkilld has the advantage everywhere in this fight. He's great on the ground. He has great striking. We've seen both of these proven in the UFC and outside of the UFC. And for me, regardless, if you couldn't already tell, I'm taking Quillan Salkilld, without a doubt in my mind. I've picked him in every fight that he's had. It's paid off. I'm going to keep slamming that until it proves otherwise, unless they feed him to an absolute monster. I don't think Gamrot is it. Gamrot's like 36, 37 years old, I believe. He's not no spry chicken anymore. And, you know, we seen in his last fight against Charles Oliveira, he got completely dominated on the ground. And I'm not saying Quillan Salkild's about to do that. I'm just saying Mateusz Gamrot is not this... he's not this, like... He's an elite grappler. But he's not the elite of the elite. And I think Quillan Salkilld is on that level. For me, personally, I like the play of Quillan Salkilld by knockout. I'm sure he could find the submission on the ground. He could bring it a decision, but I don't see it going that way. We're going to round off the card. Same fucking thing. I've been hammering the whole fucking card. Boys, we're going Quillan Salkilld by round 2 knockout. A lot of round 2 knockouts on this card, weirdly enough. I was looking through my script that I sort of wrote, like, you know, rough outline, and I'm like, God damn. As I'm reading through it, got a lot of round 2 knockouts, but a lot of these I really do see going that way. We're either getting like a round 1, round 2 knockout, or we're going to submission, right? Decision. I don't see a lot of submissions happening on this card. I see a lot of either we're going the distance or we're getting a knockout, and I really feel like that's how this is going to go, just for the whole card. And like I said, it is possible Quillan Salkilld could get the decision. He could get a submission. I feel like he's going to get comfortable in there quick and he's going to get the knockout. Could even happen in round 1. But I think I'm going to go ahead and take it by round 2. And I just kind of wanted to break down really quickly as well, like the betting props that I'm going to be taking this week, right? Because I really want to start kind of doing more breakdowns on like betting odds and props and how I'm making money, how you guys are going to make some money, and how we can make money together. You know what I mean? I sort of alluded to it earlier, but a really nice 3-leg, I think, on this card, right? I feel like Quillin Salkilld by knockout, Billy Quarantillo by decision, and Alexa Thainara by decision. You could just do the straight, just Salkilld, Quarantillo, and Thainara. Maybe sprinkle Steven Aspelin in there. You know, I feel like this card, I mean, this could come back and bite me in the ass. Who knows? But I think this card is a great card for some money to be made. Because a lot of the outcomes are, I wouldn't say expected, right? Because if they were fully expected, the odds would be absolutely insane on some of them. But I think they're likely to happen, right? It feels really easy to predict at least the main card with a lot of these outcomes, right? I mean, you have Ty Miller, super heavy favorite. He's going to go out there. He's going to get it done. If he doesn't, you're on the ban list. You're done. Like, we're not, we're never betting on you again. We have Alexa Thainara. She is absolutely going to go out there and get it done by decision. Like I said, get on that as soon as you can, because she is going to explode in, in favorite odds. Like, if it's not this fight that it goes up like crazy amounts, her next fight, she's going to be like a minus 400 favorite against some chick. Like, she is a beast. Lock that in while you can where it's at minus 200. Del Val, however you want to say it, right? I think no matter what, even if you just take money line, you're going to make some cash on this fight, because Darren Elkins is not getting this done. Yadier Del Val is going to get this done. I like him by round 1 knockout, and when the odds are up on Bet365, maybe I'll make a video sort of breaking things down of some props that we could play to make some really good money, maybe a couple small parlays. We'll see where it goes later in the week. I think regardless, though, Del Val gets this one done. Maybe Darren Elkins, being a crafty young, can turn the tide, turn back the clock, and get it done. But I really see that round 1 knockout. You know, Billy Quarantillo, Diego Ferreira. Again, no matter what, I feel like I see Billy Quarantillo getting this one done. Diego Ferreira, and again, could pull out a crafty young decision, a little bit of an upset here, but I really don't see that happening. I think the lighter man's skill is going to come into play here. He's going to get it done. That feels like another easy fight for predictions. And he's an underdog. Great money to be made on that fight. I'm sure it's like, probably like plus 200 to have him by decision. Great odds if you pair that up with Quillin Salkilld here, who's the slight favorite. You can get like minus 300, minus 350, give or take. Like I said, the odds for prop bets are not out on Bet365 yet, so I just have the regular, money line odds to go off of. But I think there's some really good money to make on this card. Let me know down below if you guys want some more kind of bet breakdowns. Like, I've been breaking down the cards, but I might start sort of looking into like Bet365 breakdowns. How can we make some money on these cards, right? I mean, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Number 1 is enjoying watching the cards, and number 2 is making some goddamn money. And I think there's some good money to be made on this card. But hey, let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.